89 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what one of our biggest division rivals did to us just 2 weeks ago at Soldier Field. But here's the part that should make every Bears fan sit up and pay attention. The player who torched our secondary that night might not be wearing green and gold much longer. I've been tracking something that connects our desperate need for explosive playmakers with a situation developing up north in Green Bay that could reshape the entire NFC North dynamic heading into next season. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report, your home for exclusive breaking news, insider analysis, and the most comprehensive coverage of our beloved Chicago Bears. I'm bringing you a story today that bridges our immediate concerns about offensive firepower with a potential off-season move that would send shockwaves through the division and give Bears Nation exactly the kind of weapon we've been craving for years. Let me paint the complete picture of where we are right now as a franchise. We're rebuilding intelligently under a new regime that understands modern football. We've got pieces in place, young talent developing, and a vision for sustained success rather than quick fixes that mortgage our future. But there's one glaring issue that keeps showing up game after game. We lack that true field-stretching receiver who can take the top off defenses and create explosive plays that change the momentum of games. We've got solid route runners. We've got possession guys who move the chains, but we don't have that burner who makes defensive coordinators lose sleep the night before they face us. Now, I've spent considerable time over the past few weeks analyzing receiving corps across the league, studying contract situations, looking at production metrics, and identifying potential targets who could realistically become available in the offseason. And one name keeps jumping out at me for reasons that go way beyond just his on-field production. This is a player who knows our division intimately. This is someone who's already proven he can perform in the brutal conditions of late-season NFC North football. This is a talent who has the exact skill set we're missing, but who might be available because of circumstances developing with his current team that have nothing to do with his ability. Let's talk about what's happening in Green Bay right now with their receiving room. Going into this week's matchup against us, they've got a situation that should make every NFL general manager pay attention. They're dealing with multiple injuries at the position. Matthew Golden is banged up with a wrist injury. Savion Williams has foot problems. Dontavion Wicks is questionable with an ankle issue. Josh Weil is out with a concussion. Jaden Reed is dealing with personal matters. And then there's the player I've been studying closely who's listed as questionable this week with a chest injury. This widespread injury problem tells me something important about how the Packers have been managing their receiver depth and workload distribution. When you've got this many pass catchers on the injury report simultaneously, it suggests either bad luck, insufficient depth, or a philosophical approach to roster construction that's going to force some difficult decisions in the offseason. The Packers are going to have to make choices about which receivers to invest in long-term and which ones might be expendable as they manage their salary cap and roster composition. Here's where it gets really interesting for us as Bears fans. Christian Watson is a player who's entering a critical point in his contract situation. He was a second-round pick back in 2022, which means his rookie deal is progressing toward its conclusion. The Packers are going to have to decide whether to invest significant money in extending him or whether to allocate those resources elsewhere, especially given their injury history at the position and the constant need to pay their quarterback while maintaining competitiveness across the roster. Now, let me walk you through Watson's production profile because the numbers tell a compelling story. This season, he's caught 28 passes for 481 yards, averaging an incredible 60.1 yards per game when he's on the field. He scored 5 touchdowns on just 43 targets. Those are elite efficiency numbers that demonstrate big playability. When he touches the ball, things happen. When he gets opportunities, he produces at a high level. That's exactly the profile we need in Chicago. But here's the complexity. His game log shows inconsistency that's partly injury-related and partly about usage within the Packers' offensive system. Some weeks he's getting 10 targets and dominating. Other weeks he's getting 4 touches and being used as more of a complementary piece. Against us in Week 14, he absolutely destroyed our secondary with 4 catches for 89 yards and 2 scores. He showed us firsthand what kind of problem he creates for defenses when used properly. That performance should be etched into the memory of every Bears decision-maker as they evaluate what kind of talent would transform our offensive attack. The injury history is something I have to address honestly because it's part of the evaluation process. Watson has dealt with various ailments throughout his career, including the chest injury that has him questionable this week. For the Packers, who need absolute reliability given how their offense operates, this injury concern might factor into their decision-making about his future. But for a team like the Bears, who could use him differently within our offensive scheme and who desperately need his skill set, it might be a calculated risk worth taking. Let me get into the strategic speculation here. Imagine Christian Watson wearing navy and orange next season. Imagine him lining up opposite our developing receivers, creating a dynamic where defenses can't focus all their attention on one player. Imagine what happens to our offensive philosophy when we suddenly have someone who can stretch the field vertically and force safeties to respect the deep ball. Everything changes. Our running game becomes more effective. Our intermediate passing game opens up. Our play action becomes devastating. One player with that specific skill set transforms an entire offense. The financial aspect makes this plausible. If the Packers decide not to invest major money in extending Watson, he could hit the market either through trade or free agency depending on how his contract timing works out. For the Bears, who will have significant cap space to work with in the upcoming offseason, this becomes an opportunity to add proven production at a position of need without having to draft a receiver high and hope he develops. We'd be getting someone who's already produced at an NFL level, who already knows this division, and who already has chemistry experience in a pro-style offense. Think about the psychological impact of signing a player away from our biggest rival. The Packers have tormented us for decades with superior quarterback play and better receiving weapons. Imagine flipping that script. Imagine taking one of their explosive playmakers and putting him in our uniform. The message that sends to the rest of the division is powerful. It tells everyone that the Bears are serious about competing, that we're willing to make bold moves, and that we're not content to just develop from within when opportunities arise to add proven talent. Now, would the Packers actually let him go? That's the key question. If they believe they can't afford to keep him given their other financial commitments, if they're concerned about his injury history, if they feel confident they can replace his production through the draft or with their other young receivers, then yes, this becomes realistic. Teams make these kinds of calculated decisions all the time. They let talented players walk because of resource allocation priorities. It happens every single offseason across the league. For Watson himself, coming to Chicago could represent a fresh start and an opportunity for a featured role. Instead of being one of multiple options in Green Bay's passing attack, he could be the guy in Chicago. He could be the primary deep threat that our offensive coordinator builds packages around. He could be the player who transforms our offense from competent to explosive. That's appealing for someone who wants to maximize his production before his next contract negotiation. The risk factors are real, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. The injury history means we'd need to structure any deal with protections built in. The adjustment to a new offensive system always takes time, even for experienced players. The rivalry factor could create weird dynamics, where a player struggles to fully embrace his new team after spending years with a division opponent. But these are manageable risks, especially when weighed against the potential reward of finally having that explosive receiving weapon we've lacked for far too long. Here's my bottom line assessment. Christian Watson to the Bears isn't just possible. It's the kind of strategic move that would make perfect sense for our current roster construction needs and competitive timeline. We need explosive playmaking at receiver. Watson provides exactly that skill set. He might become available due to circumstances in Green Bay that have nothing to do with his talent level. We have the cap space to pursue him. The fit makes sense schematically. This is the type of opportunistic move that championship organizations make when they see a chance to upgrade at a position of need by acquiring proven talent from within their division. So, Bears Nation, I want to hear from you on this one. Would you be excited to see Christian Watson in a Bears uniform next season? Do you think the risk is worth the potential reward? How would you feel about signing a player from our biggest rival? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this is exactly the kind of strategic discussion our fan base needs to be having as we look toward building a true contender. Make sure you're subscribed to Bears News Fan Report and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates as this situation develops throughout the offseason. We'll be tracking every move, every contract negotiation, and every possibility that could bring elite talent to Chicago. This is how championship rosters get built, and I'll be here breaking it all down for you every step of the way. Bears, down!